Good morning. Today we are going to be talking about water. Water no get enemy. Even though the World Water Day is past, it's still something very important to talk about. Good morning, all my ones. Where do I start? Professor Alero Roberts, Desmond Majekodunmi, and of course the lovely Yeni Kuti. I welcome you all to this program.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us.
Now, we want to talk about water. Yeni, water no get enemy. How true is this?
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. So, Yeni, if I can start with you, water no get enemy. What are your thoughts on that?
For having us. Good morning, everybody. Yes, the question is being directed to me. I'm going to go by fella's song. If water kill your child, now water you go use. There is nothing that we do that we don't need water, no matter what happens. I think for me, the way I would view that is that water, or I would think about that is, there is nothing we can do without water. Like, I know I'm not a doctor. Alero can say whether it's true or not. The body can survive without food, I think, for a week or so, or maybe even longer. But you can't survive without water for 3 days. So let's say you are stuck on an island with water all around you, salt water around you. You will still be looking for water to drink. So at that point, you are thinking, oh, water is your enemy. It's not really your enemy. It is is the situation you have found yourself in that is your enemy, not the water. So I think that was what Fela was trying to, I think in his own way, Fela was an environmentalist without knowing it. I think in those days, we didn't know about global warming. It wasn't really, the environmentalists hadn't really discovered what was happening to the earth.
Yeah, so Des, I don't know if Des can then just can talk more on that aspect of things, water and the environment.
Well, absolutely. It's such a
not enemy. Water no get enemy? Are we the enemy of water?
We put ourselves in a position whereby water has to exercise our strength, our overpowering strength. And, we are so arrogant to feel that we have the ability to control water just because our little technologies can put a few dams here and there. But when we now start to do things that will impact against water, she tells us, she shows us, look at the heaviest rain that has ever fallen in Dubai. That was water. 1.5 years rain. It wasn't rainfall, it was a rain bomb. Simply because we have been doing things against this incredible, wonderful system, the miracle of creation, this wonderful system. So yeah, we shouldn't even try to be enemy to water because we are fighting a losing battle. That's the case.
Well, taking it up over to you, Alero. Prof, can you talk to us about your own, from the medical perspective, water no get enemy? Well, does it or does it not?
Water no get enemy. We, as we are all sitting here, are almost 70% water as a human body. And to buttress what Yeni was saying, we speak of the rule of threes in survival. You can survive 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. That's the standard rule of 3. So you can imagine that after 3 days, you are stuck on an island, as Yeni said, and you don't have drinkable water, you will die. And that's just the bottom line, because our bodies as we are almost 70% water. Water is in everything. So this is even the physiological human being. Plus, don't forget that in a day, we're all in Lagos at the moment, and it's been quite hot, despite the little rain we had this morning. you lose up to 1.5 liters of water just waking up in the morning and going through the day and waking up tomorrow morning. You will have to have replaced 1.5 liters of water back to your body in what we call insensible water loss. That's not when you go to the toilet or anything like that. That's just the insensible water loss from sweating, from breathing, and all of that. So you don't have drinkable water, you are in deep trouble. Then, of course, we have all the other things from the extremes of age, you know, because babies, babies are almost 95% water when they are born. And it's only when their bones begin to solidify and they begin to build muscle mass and their little legs start running around up and down that they become more like adults. And by the time they hit adulthood, they're almost 70%, they're down to 70% water. So water not gets any meal. We cannot survive without water. So I'm hoping Desmond will take us through some of the environmental challenges we are putting on this precious resource.
Desmond, over to you.
The challenges are serious because, as Alero has said, we're 70%. And it's just, the challenges are coming forth as an expression of really our arrogance and our greed and our selfishness. And also, I would say a little bit of a lack of understanding of our true identity, because we're so keen to just, satisfy the physical. And in the process of doing that, we're really, really going overboard and creating tremendous harm to this incredible system, this wonderful life support system. As Dr. Alero said, 2-3 days max without water, boom, you're out of here, you're gone, So we need to really adjust ourselves very rapidly, because the damage that we're now causing in terms of the negative impacts against our environment are reaching a stage whereby they will become unstoppable and catastrophic. We're creating far too much heat, for one thing. The oceans, they're balanced. They're balanced. We have a wonderful, wonderful system. One part of the world, you have ice. In another part of the world, you have tropical heat. It's all balanced. And this is what is making the system work. But because we're now overheating the system, it's like, if your body has, 1 or 2 degrees temperature, you're sick. By the time you push to 3 degrees, you're really, really sick. And that's what we're doing. And it's affecting the water systems very, very negatively. It has to stop.
I mean, that is alarming. I know you have just done a competition or just launched a competition about the ocean with the Dawn Project. I don't know if it's a deviation now, but do you want to talk about it and why you're doing that?
Oh, this competition that we're doing with the Dawn Project, it is really, really interesting, because a lot of young people are tuning into it, and it's creating awareness in their own minds about the reality of the need to nurture nature, of the reality of the need to live in harmony with nature, like every other living entity does. And of course, water, again, is the major part of nature. In fact, this earth really, should be called water, because it's about 65 or 70% water, at least on the surface. So yeah, this competition is really creating a good buzz. I think we're going into the 3rd or 4th year now, and a lot of young people are getting involved and researching and learning about what they need to do to ensure that we have a livable system. So
Yes.
It's very, very, very exciting to see that.
Yes, and it's all about winning cash prizes. But don't let's get carried away by competitions about the ocean and the water. Let's get back onto our medical track. So if I can go back to you, Alero, talking about water, you talked about the importance of water to the body. And, in one sense, Desmond has talked to us about how we are creating problems in the oceans with what it is that we're doing. But there are other issues. There are also some, other elements and other organisms that exist in water that cause problems for us as human beings. Are we as responsible for them? Are they just there by themselves? And what is the impact on us as human beings when they, from the water, get into our systems?
So, Dr. Ajayi, you want us to do a full public health, masters in public health on this program. One of the most
Yes.
favorite questions of the examiners are, give us 10 water-related diseases. I know everybody thinks, oh, diarrhea, cholera, high temperature. No, you are very correct. A water-related disease, malaria. If we didn't have water, the mosquitoes can't reproduce. A water-related disease, onchocerciasis, river blindness. Another one, schistosomiasis, what we used to call bilharzia in those days. The swimmer's itch when children are playing in lagoons and lakes and whatnot. Another water-related disease, trachoma, eyes, where there's not enough water to wash the eyes constantly and they get infected and it can cause blindness. In fact, I think it's up to 10% of the world's blindness is trachoma related. Then, of course, you have water impacting diseases. We saw Desmond mentioned the Dubai, but there was even a more frightening one that I was watching on television where children were holding onto the treetops in a flooded situation. And that's the situation we are likely to face in a place like Lagos if the sea levels begin to rise because of this climate change. So there are so many other things. Then there's a lack of water, of course, dehydration. When you don't have, and some of the signs that people don't even realize that when you have that persistent headache, particularly about 3, 4 in the afternoon, and somebody says, my head. And I just simply say, drink a glass of water. Just a glass of water. Because people don't realize that dehydration, some of the early signs are, headache, fatigue, dizziness, and so on and so forth. So there are so many things medically that can go wrong when water is either too much or not enough or of very poor quality.
Thank you very much. Fantastic. Yeni, I think you had a question for Alero.
Yes, I do. Because recently, first of all, it's really, really hot these days. And I exercise a lot. And sometimes I can't not drink cold water because I'm hot. But I've been hearing, you are playing with a heart attack. You will have a heart attack. Stop drinking cold water. Your pores will close. Your heart will congest. You will die. Stop it. When you are eating and you drink ice water, your food will congeal in your stomach. So I'm now scared.
Please don't be scared.
The second part of the question is the plastics. They say, don't drink water in plastic. In fact, my daughter has been stressing me, drink water in bottles and stop using plastics. So
those are two very, very important questions, and you are very correct. Now, let's address the issue of the ice cold water. First of all, we are in hot Africa. One of the fastest ways of cooling the body down is ice cold water. And in fact, it's ice cold water. Because the funniest thing that what people don't realize is before the water has left your lips and reached the bottom of your throat here, it has attained body temperature. It has become the temperature of your body.
Wow.
That's how powerful the body is. But at least the ice cold water in your mouth hits the top of what we call the upper palate of the mouth and cools the brain a bit. So it cools the temperature regulating center of the brain a bit, and you feel cooler. Now, because people don't realize that this issue of overheating and dehydration, it fogs the brain. You can't think properly. Don't take a decision if you have not had a glass of water. That's the one thing I tell people. Don't take any major business decision if you have not have a glass of water and be sure that you are well hydrated. So that's the issue about and then forget that thing about the water. By the time it hits your stomach, it is the same temperature as your body. The good thing about water is that when it hits your stomach and it makes you feel full faster. So you tend to eat less, particularly if you're eating very processed, very oily foods. So that's another day's discussion. I'm sure Dr. Ajayi will bring that up. Now, the issue of plastics, and I'm sure Desmond would love to weigh in on this. We must stop plastics in this life. We must reduce plastics. Plastics are dangerous in every which way you can think about. I would prefer we go back to the old traditional clay pots. And I'm sure Yeni has a lot she can say about that, where we cool the water in those clay pots and drink it directly from that. If not, if we must have, then get the big plastic bottles that are recyclable, so that we are not churning single-use plastic into our waterways, into our drains, into our oceans, that eventually become microplastics that enter the food chain. That's what people are not being aware of. So I can spend another 3 days talking about that. So I'll stop here.
I can spend another 3 days listening.
No, it's very important. I think these are some of the challenges. And that's why I say those water not, if I say water no get enemy, I think we are the water, we are the enemy of water. Because you know what we're doing to damage the waterways and eventually actually damage ourselves is really frightening.
It's very frightening.
It is. So Alero, you were talking again about, but I mean, I'll come back to Desmond to talk about some other environmental issues. I know he wants to talk about, you know, coastal erosion and, you know, the corals and things like that and how that sort of impacts the competition. But we were talking to you and you were explaining earlier about water and its relation to maybe disease conditions, diabetes, hypertension, strokes, etc. You know, you were giving us a broad outline or overview. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, I can, and I would love to, because water is the one thing that if we drink enough of and we can manage our weights because of it, we will not be prone to those diseases like the type 2 diabetes, like hypertension, which leads to strokes, heart attacks, diabetic foot. I mean, I'm just sort of having to handhold my friend who has an intractable sore on her foot, and the doctors are saying they're going to have to cut the leg off. Of course, obesity, type 2 diabetes. Now she has a diabetic foot and she's looking at a lower knee amputation. I mean, that's frightening at any age. Gosh. And all this because many times people don't realize that when you are thirsty, they substitute the thirst for hunger. Then they start eating snacks, bad snacks, instead of just drinking a glass or two of water. So the issue of drinking water for me has become absolutely imperative. While I do not say, oh, you must drink no less than 8, I don't give those kind of rules and regulations, but I do tell people, drink as much water as you can take until your urine becomes clear. That's when you know that you are well hydrated. And you will find that if you sort of have a glass of water, ice cold water in Yeni's case, so that she cools down, particularly in this period that is so hot and there's no electricity, a glass of ice cold water, you will eat more sensibly. You are better able to choose what you eat and make sure you eat the right foods, you know, lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, you know, lots of what I call complex carbohydrates like pounded yam, yam, sweet potato, you know, good complex carbohydrates that retain water in your body and keep you well hydrated. So there's a lot that water no gets enemy. Now we be the enemy. You know, we make water our enemy.
Alero, I must eat tomorrow. As you just spoke about that, I must eat tomorrow.
Come. I'll have one fine I will make it with vegetable for you. Fresh vegetable that I will pick from the garden in the morning, and it will be soup in the night. That is the most ideal food. And then I'll have ice cold water for you, and I will make a dessert for you. You know what the dessert will be? Watermelon.
What?
Watermelon.
Hey, are you inviting me? Are you inviting me? Please,
I come over now.
Address. Let me come.
I'm texting it to you right now. Look at me.
Okay.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So Desmond, over to you to talk a bit more about the environment. You're talking about the recent competition, the theme, Oceans of Opportunity. preserving today for tomorrow, you know, and I mean, Alero's introduced us to obviously the pollution aspect. Are there any other aspects that you want people to be thinking about when they're, you know, putting in their applications and their submissions for this competition? Desmond. I think we lost him again. Okay, so I will stop. Alero, just you mentioned at the beginning about diarrhea, but really haven't spoken much about it. Can you just sort of quickly, we don't have much time, sort of wrap up and tell us a bit about diarrhea, what you want people to know, particularly mothers or grandmothers, and what people need to take away? Because we're getting into our last, last words for our listeners here.
Okay, so what I really like to talk about is the diarrhea that comes from what we call food poisoning, because that's the one that affects everybody. And a lot of us are going to be victims of that, because again, with the poor power supply, means food is not being stored properly. So you can get food poisoning even from food you have stored in your own fridge or freezer or anything. And it comes with this explosive diarrhea. And very often we find that a lot of people do not dehydrate very quickly during this diarrhea, because they've got this erroneous belief that when you have a diarrhea, you shouldn't eat or drink. So please, my last words on this is that if you are having more than the usual bowel movements, and everybody knows what their pattern is, anything that is more frequent than what you are used to, please make sure you have a bottle of water at the very least. If possible, if you can get oral rehydration salts into it, better still. Better still, have a watermelon. People are shocked that watermelon restores water to your body faster than even water can do. So if you can eat some watermelon, have a glass of water, that diarrhea aspect is something we must pay particular attention to, because now it is attacking all ages. Of course, again, the extremes of age, the very young, the very old, are particularly vulnerable, and it is important that you get rehydrated as fast as you can. Please. Wow. That is the one thing that I must say as a last
Thank
word.
you. Thank you. Now, with our last words, Desmond, if you can sort of wrap up, tell us a bit more about this competition, oceans of opportunity, preserving today for tomorrow. What are the kinds of things? Some people are listening here, they've heard about the hundreds of thousands of naira to be won. How can they get more information about this competition? And also, is there anything in particular that you also want them to think about?
Yes, the competition, definitely. Just tune into the Dawn Project website. All the info is there, and they shall be uploading some more in the next few days. It's a competition that asks you to have a nice poem or have a nice painting or even a song, or in these days, probably a spoken word or a rap about the theme, which is the oceans of opportunity from the water. And it is actually designed to make us think about the reality that if we don't have a healthy environment, then we cannot be healthy. And if we're causing problems with the water, definitely we're going to bring problems on ourselves. And that's why Fela was actually very prophetic when he said that. How can we even think that we can be an enemy to water? Whereas water has all the power. And we're really disturbing her. We're causing all kinds of problems. We're wiping out all sorts of species because of this extra global warming, and then massive amounts of plastic just going in there and causing havoc. We have to change our ways. And that's what the competition is all about, to let us know that we have to be loving nature so nature can love us back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any quick words for our last words for our listeners, Yeni?
No, I'm really happy to know that I can go back to my iced water. So I shall, after this program, have a nice cold glass of iced water. Hey, that's very important. You don't know how important it is to me right now. In this heat.
Thank you.
You know, I was even going to ask
you all
Desmond
very much.
if because the heat now is as if we have seen God. You know, it's horrible. It's like God is telling us, you people are bad. You have spoiled my environment.
Oh.
Take this heat. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So we are already starting to pay the price of global warming. But
Yeah,
we are.
that's discussion for another day. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe for new video updates.